Hello, this is Rob Mazak, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Life by Mazak podcast channel. Here on this channel, anything is possible. Any subject will and usually is discussed, and there's no telling how this message will unfold as we work through an idea, through an experience, or through a thought. These subjects come from the vast amount of information and experience through spirit, through life lessons, and from working with a lot of other people. Scripts are never used on this channel, and the message simply unfolds as the subject is discussed. Follow along and see where it leads us, or more specifically, where it leads me. These podcasts are produced in the hopes of helping others to benefit, to grow, and to excel in their own human experience. At Life by Mazak, we work towards helping you achieve wellness for your mind, your body, and your soul using many specialized services. Services that include psychic medium and tarot readings, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression, intuitive Reiki healing, life coaching, and many other services. If you enjoyed this podcast, please click the like button and share this with others. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can with the knowledge that is shared on this podcast channel. Hello, everybody. I would probably venture to say that most people in this world are really intrigued by psychic phenomenon, or the ability to see things that we really shouldn't know, I guess you'd say, predict the future, perhaps see ahead, or know something about somebody or something that really we should not have any real reason to see or know. And I have been fascinated by this all my life. And finally, as you heard from the intro, I have become a professional psychic and medium, meaning I have a business put together and all that. Doesn't mean I'm any better than anybody else. It just means that I've accepted that this is an ability that I have, I don't know, not figured out, but I guess figured out that I had. And so might as well use it for the benefit of other people and myself, of course. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe where that stuff is coming from, how it comes, why it comes, and is it from within ourselves? Is it from outside of ourselves? There's definitely a lot of different ideas about where information comes. I do believe we are in this sea of ultimate and indefinite and infinite information. I believe we're in the sea of consciousness as human beings or spirits here having a human experience. And I do believe that it's really not that difficult in many ways once you learn to accept it or use it or create a new way or a way of connecting to this information. And once you learn these things, it is really cool, almost to the point where knowing is a really cool thing, but it's also not a cool thing. I mean, knowing things sometimes is kind of disturbing, but knowing things, I think, by and large, is really what us humans want to know, is what we seek. We are curious by nature. We are beings that want to excel and push the limits and do something that's just different than going to work and coming home and doing the same things every day. I believe that we are all here to have these really monstrous experiences. And I think the best way to do that, and I think I would go as far to say as I know the best way to do that is to really figure out how to connect outside of ourselves or even within ourselves. So there's a lot of ideas about where information comes from. But I wanted to first talk about an experience that I had yesterday. And it really kind of made me think a little bit harder than I usually do. I do think a lot. I do ponder a lot. I do connect a lot. I do see and know and hear and experience other information that technically I'm not supposed to be able to understand or know. So yesterday I was out walking around the camp that I live and work on, and the trails are, for the most part, that I was walking on were very, very rocky. I'm sure you've been to some of those state parks where it's just all the roads are like really hard dirt and just monstrous amounts of like rock and it's just really, really rough, almost like tank trails and stuff like that. Not that we have tanks here, but maybe there used to be. I don't know. But I was walking along. I have a stick in my hand because I saw a wolf the other day. Didn't feel like I needed to be unarmed. Oh, I guess you'd say, so to speak. Not that a stick's going to help, but maybe psychologically. But as I was walking along this trail, I got to a part that was really rough, and just lots of rocks, uphill, slippery. Slippery meaning lots of rock. It wasn't wet or anything like that. But I had this flash vision of me falling, slipping and falling and landing on my right forearm and my elbow. It was strange. I mean, it's not unusual to fall. I've fallen, a number of times out there because I do walk those kind of paths a lot on this camp. But it wasn't probably 15 to 30 seconds later, I actually fell exactly the way I saw that vision happen. And I just kind of sat there for a second. I mean, sure, it hurt, but I'm used to that. I'm a goalkeeper, soccer goalkeeper, so I'm used to a relationship with the ground, I guess. So it didn't hurt as much as probably most people would have. But I just sat there for a second. I'm like, did I really just see ahead enough to know that this was going to happen? And it really made me start to think. You kind of go back to the idea of free will and decision making and things like that. I know that we would all love to think we have free will and that we have choices and that we make choices. And it does definitely feel like that. And in many ways, we may be, and we may be making all the choices. But in this case, if what I saw ahead of time actually happened, was that really a choice, or was that a choice that was made for me? Or was it something that I was just being prepared for? So maybe I was able to slip on an area where the rocks weren't so bad. I don't know. Who knows, right? But the thing is that when they've done experiments using brain scans and things like that, it appears that choices that we make to do something actually happen somewhere else in the brain. I believe it's in the reticulating activating system, or the reptilian type part of our brain that doesn't really reason out things, they just react, right? Or somewhere else in the subconscious. Subconscious meaning it's not part of the conscious. So there's a lot of parts to that. Those decisions, apparently, with demonstrated by these experiments, showed that as many as 7 seconds before decisions are consciously made, quote unquote, the mind had, or the subconscious part of the mind had already made that choice. So if that's really the case and that happens consistently, where is this choice coming from? Where is this information coming from? Is the mind then simply just a receptor for some program that we're running or program that we're experiencing? And we get the signal to our conscious mind to kind of play along as if we are actually making the choices. I mean, there's a lot of things here to think about. I wanted to read a little something from a little piece I found on the internet. I don't read a lot of things, but I probably couldn't say this a lot better. This particular passage is this. So this is following the statement that they were able to determine that decisions were being made by a unconscious or subconscious part of our mind many seconds before the conscious becomes aware that a choice has been made, thinking it has made it. So it goes like this. So this does not mean free will is an illusion, but it certainly complicates our understanding of it. Conscious choice may be less about originating decisions and more about endorsing or vetoing impulses generated unconsciously. In other words, the conscious mind might be more like a curator than a creator, selecting which part of the brain's many pre-generated possibilities to put into action. Now, that makes a lot of sense, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. So it really brings into the question the divisions of our mind and what the purposes of those are. Is the conscious mind simply there to show some type of experience, to show the passage of time, to show us aging, to show our kids growing up, to show us all these things that create a reality for us. When in fact, we may just simply be here for a ride. Maybe we're just here to have some predetermined existence, something that perhaps we decided on. Maybe we chose a package of some sort that we purchased in some other life, and here we are in some unconscious experience from that life having a quote unquote conscious experience in this life. And it is simply just playing out and giving us the illusion that we are here to make choices and to decide things. I don't know about you guys, but I've pretty much questioned that most of my life. I've been on a journey with this life that seems to be a journey that I have not really forced to change or to create or to have happen all the things that have happened in my life. I remember many times, especially while I'm still in my military career, but, throughout my military career going, sitting on a plane going somewhere, just saying to myself or thinking to myself, it feels like I'm simply on a ride. And I guess that's okay too. I guess we'd like to think that as human beings that ego part of us or whatever part of our mind would think that we're in charge and that we are creating things and making things happen in life. And we may not be at all, right? And there's also that part about manifesting and creating. And I've kind of come to the consensus, which you've probably heard me say in other podcasts, is that I believe that we're not necessarily manifesting anything. I think that we are just simply coming in line with an experience that's supposed to show up anyway. And I guess once we get into that frequency alignment or that alignment of that frequency, then it can actually happen. Or as we're manifesting, we're simply seeing that in our conscious mind and don't realize that there's a delay in the decision and the process somewhere deep in the caverns of our mind that we can't necessarily access when we want to. Now, I don't know if I'm answering questions here or I'm actually just making it worse. But I think that the experience of life is just so incredibly interesting. To be honest, we don't really know what the truth is. I mean, we'd like to think we do, and I'd like to think that I understand the mind. I probably understand it more than the average person, but the complication of the mind is just incredible. The mind gives us this spectacular experience in this life from the input of 5 senses. And so it's it is a 3-pound thing of flesh, a bunch of neurons, a bunch of connections, almost like a computer. And it is in the dark without any input. You wonder where or how it could possibly create an experience. Yet we think that what we experience, what we see, what we feel, what we hear, smell, all the emotions, all those things, that is reality. Well, it might be. I'm not saying it's not. How do we really, really know what the truth is? What if we're simply in some kind of dream, some kind of, I don't know, some kind of experience that's pre-programmed? I would really like to think that free will is something that is always with us no matter what happens. I do think, though, I do believe a little bit with the article or the piece of the article I just read is that I do believe that the conscious mind is almost like part of that checks and balances. So if you look at the way the mind processes in basics, right? Obviously, decisions and things are being created behind the scenes, and then they pop up for the safety and the pleasure of our experiences. I think the conscious mind is there to perhaps put a check or a balance on decisions that the mind is trying to make from a dark space based on whatever, right? Inputs from 5 senses, and perhaps maybe there's more information than that, that is coming through. However, I don't know if that really clearly defines free will. I mean, I've watched a lot of movies and a lot of things that really push the boundaries of the questioning and the ideas about free will. Many of the movies would say, well, yeah, free will is an illusion. And, when the human would banter back with whomever was speaking it, they would say, well, yeah, you're free to choose what toothpaste you like or what kind of soda flavor you'd like to have, all these different things. But free will and the human experience or the human population, the human race continuing to exist, it really would be very dangerous to have everybody have free will and to expect the human race to continue. I mean, let's just face it. There's a lot of strange or interesting or crazy things going on in this world today, and that's even with checks and balances. I would probably not like to experience the human race without some type of interference, some type of checks, some kind of balances that come from outside of ourselves. Now, many people would consider religious figures and those types of things from outside of ourselves that are guiding us and helping us. I believe in spirit guides. I believe in all those things as well, that they nudge us along. Now, that doesn't prove that they're there. But I do think, though, that we are getting something, some kind of connection, some kind of instruction, some type of information from outside of. That is probably the main source of our experience, our intuition, our decisions, everything that happens, I believe, comes from outside of ourselves. But on the other side of that, what if we were born as a human, came into this human form through our DNA, the complexity, which is astronomically amazing, and we have not completely mapped it, and the complication of our human body is just incredible. As much as we think we know, we don't know as much as we possibly could. There's some studies that say we might use a third of our DNA. Well, at least that's what they can figure out, right? I cannot imagine that a creator, whoever came up with us and put us here and put the design of the human being together, would give us something or embed something within us that is not useful. For example, I believe that in some cases, past life regressions or past life memories that we have may come from the embedded information within the lineage through our DNA. Maybe what we're experiencing is just memories that have been built into us. I think, though, in many ways, we are a small piece of a larger cosmos, but not a small piece, an exact copy of the smaller version of it. I don't know if that makes any sense. We're not a small molecule that makes up the cosmos. We are the cosmos. As a human here having experience, we could easily then tap into any kind of information, any kind of anything we'd like to have, any kind of experience we'd like to have. It's just incredible. I was just watching a video earlier today, and I don't know if this is true. Actually, none of the things I'm talking about I can prove, but this is just some really interesting conversation, at least in my opinion. Hopefully you are enjoying it as well. This lady was talking about the fact that our DNA, once again, is not being used to its full potential as far as science can tell, but that the genes and the different parts of the makeup of the DNA actually includes or gives us the ability to be immortal, to recreate, to become well, to reverse aging, to do all these different things. And I guess her question was more about, then why aren't we immortal? Why aren't we perfectly healthy? Why aren't we, always young? I think it's because we get wrapped around this world and what social engineering and all these different things have but conditioned us to believe that we are just some helpless human being that has to rely on others and governments and agencies and all these things for our livelihood. And I don't think that people realize how powerful the human being is, how capable we are of doing nearly anything. I wouldn't say everything, but I would say that just about anything you could dream up, you can do. And the question then becomes, where does this happen within us? How do we really, really tap into the knowledge that we share with the universe or the cosmos? Well, one way to start, I can tell you, is I discovered this actually as I was learning to meditate. I guess I was meditating a lot in my life and didn't know that it was called meditation. But when I really went after it with a purposeful heart and I really put it into practice and I learned to listen and hear and understand the things that were coming or streaming in from outside of myself, the experiences and the journeys and the information and the knowledge that I was able to gain was just absolutely immense. And it blew my mind away. I mean, it wasn't long after I started meditating, probably within a few weeks, that I really began to see things that I shouldn't know. I saw some things that when I looked up, I'm like, that's a real thing. I've never been exposed to that. Where did that come from? I can tell you, even, I don't know, 15 years later, it still amazes me the stuff I see and the stuff I get to experience in meditation. And meditation is not something that is done the same way by everybody. Everybody has to find their own way, and there's a million ways to do it. You can ask a million people, and they'll all tell you something different. But you'll have to figure out, if you're interested in really experiencing the universe and experiencing who you are and where and how to get information, that is something that you don't have to go read a book about or look up on the internet. But the only thing you use the internet for is to help you validate maybe some of the things you've gotten. I've gotten some things that it's just like I said, just completely blows my mind. Let's go back to the original idea of the psychic abilities. I do think that with our connection to everything that there is, that it's really, really not difficult to gain knowledge or information or knowing about something or someone or yourself, because we are that connected. I think, I know, actually, I'll go as far as to say, as I know that if you really put your mind to it and you really put it into practice, you can see and gain information for others and yourself that is so beneficial that it'll amaze you every day. And it is, I don't even know how to describe it. It is crazy. And then it could even evolve into other things, mediumship and different things. I think we are cutting ourselves short, people. I think we really, really are cutting ourselves short, and we are missing the boat on a lot of different things. We spend most of our lives going to work, chasing an education, raising a family, which I'm not saying these things are bad, raising a family, and just being busy, 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 watching football, drinking beer, going to clubs, doing things that, may seem fun at the time, but where is it really going for us to grow as human beings? I think that there's much, much, much more that we can bring into our lives that we are simply not doing. I do challenge you guys to actually try it out. I mean, you don't have to spend hours and years learning to meditate. I mean, you could do that, 10, 15 minutes at a time. And if that's too much, you can start less, but just give it a go. I mean, if you just silence your world for a change, silence your world so that you can hear or ask a question or seek a particular answer or go somewhere in your consciousness, you will be amazed at what happens. Try it out. Give it a go, because we are way more than our flesh and bones and our minds. We are way more than that. And if we were not, we wouldn't be endowed with the abilities that are ingrained in us that we are simply not using. If we really have 95% of our mind that we don't have conscious control of, and it is creating our reality and connecting to all that is outside of us and our DNA and all these different things that we have the abilities to use and we're not using them. We are really cutting ourselves short. And I believe we are here on purpose. We are here primarily by choice, if you ask me, through my experiences. And so why are we just simply doing all the menial things, doing things that are okay, they're survival, there are different things that might be fun, right? But where is the difference in the people that really grow and become amazing human beings? Not that everybody's not amazing, but I mean that people that really flourish in this life and just have such rich and enduring experiences. It is those that seek to get in touch with themselves, get in touch with the ultimate and unlimited amount of information that's available to us through the universe, the cosmos, through our DNA, through our connection. It's just, I don't even know how to put it into words. It is absolutely amazing. Well, I think I probably beat up this subject quite a bit. Free will, being psychic, all those things I think are very interesting to think about. And I think that when we begin to dig into that, we begin to understand ourselves better. We begin to understand how life works better. So take the time, make the effort, do something different, try it out. Why not? What do you have to lose? Doesn't cost you anything. All right, when you get a chance, bump on over to my website when you get an opportunity. Lifebymazak.com, LIFEBYMAZAK.com. On there, you'll find everything you need to know about me and my other half, how to contact us, services, blogs, all these fun things. And I really look forward to hearing from you guys, and I look forward to working with you, because when I work with others, helping them, I also help myself. Everybody that I've helped has brought me new experiences and has brought new experiences to my clients. And so let's continue the trend. Look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to working with you. Stay strong and live your life.